إذن بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. نبدأ هذه الجلسة التي تأتي بعنوان الاتجاهات الناشئة في العقار، توقعات للمستقبل. حضورنا الكرام، أهلا ومرحبا بكم. أرحب بكم حضورنا الكرام، وأرحب أيضا بالمتحدثين الكرام. I'd like to welcome you to this panel discussion and thank you for accepting the invitation, our valued speakers. إذن ستكون هذه الجلسة بكلتا اللغتين العربية والإنجليزية. بإمكانكم الحصول على أجهزة الاستماع إلى الترجمة عند مدخل هذه القاعة. The session will be in both Arabic and English. Please make use of the simultaneous interpretation headsets at the entrance of this hall. إذن في عصر يتسم بالتقدم التكنولوجي السريع وتغيرات الأوضاع الاقتصادية وتطور احتياجات المجتمع، يقف قطاع العقارات عند مفترق طرق حاسم. اليوم سنتحدث عن هذا القطاع الديناميكي لنكشف عن الاتجاهات التي تشكل مستقبله. سنستكشف سوية التقنيات المبتكرة التي أحدثت وستحدث ثورة في تطوير وإدارة العقارات، من الذكاء الاصطناعي والبيانات الكبيرة إلى ممارسات البناء الخضراء. سنتطرق أيضا للتغيرات في سلوك المستهلكين وديناميكيات السوق، وكيف يعاد تصور مفهوم المساحة في العقارات السكنية والتجارية. لذا دعونا نبدأ هذه الرحلة القصيرة للكشف والمناقشة، حيث سنرسم مسار العقارات نحو المستقبل. لدينا كوكبة من المتحدثين، بدءا بالسيد ستيفن بورتش. طبعا هو رئيس القطاع العقاري في ديلويت الاستشارية، والسيد فيليب كورنيت، وهو رئيس قطاع المدن والقطاعات العقارية والسياحية في مجموعة بوسطن الاستشارية، وأيضا الأستاذ خلدون نابلسي، رئيس قطاع الاستثمار في الشركة الوطنية للإسكان. Starting with you, Stefan. Stefan has over 19 years of experience in the real estate sector, 14 of which have been in the Middle East, with a focus on Saudi Arabia. During this time, Stefan has provided valuation, feasibility, and real estate development advice to a range of clients, including government-related entities, corporate developers, and family groups. Stefan is a professional member of the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors and currently leads the Middle East real estate team. Stefan, in your role at Deloitte Middle East, how have you observed the impact of emerging technologies on real estate transactions and asset management in the region? And what potential do you see for those technologies in shaping the future of the real estate market?
Thank you very much, Omar, and I'd just like to say thank you to the organisers of the RAFF. Myself and my colleagues were here last year as well, so we really welcome the opportunity to be part of this debate. So thank you very much. You raise a really interesting question around technology and its impact on the real estate markets. And I can summarize it quite simply in a way. When I started my career nearly 20 years ago in London, the real estate market and the real estate industry was very much about people. It was all about contacts. It was who you knew. So if you wanted to know about a leasing deal, an investment deal, or find some data to evaluation, it was all about your contacts. And I think that's what a lot of people in the real estate industry liked. I think fast forward 20 years, and we've seen massive evolution of technology and how that can be used in the real estate industry. And what we're seeing is very much that real estate is becoming a data business. You know, it's all about how you can harvest data and analyze data in order to find and perceive better quality insights around the built environment. And I think that's true for both the development market and indeed the investment market. So when I say investment market, I say built stock, so how you asset manage your buildings. And it's really about how you leverage that data. So we're doing a whole lot of work with our clients about trying to put them back in control of their own data. So trying to dashboard developments for them so they can understand the effect on certain KPIs, whether it's timing, whether it's IRR, whether it's profit and cost, about changes to inputs. Real estate development is a really dynamic business, and things change through the process. And so if you can't understand your data, leverage that data, and be able to make informed conclusions on the back of that data, you're going to be on the back foot and you're going to often get the wrong answer. So as we go forward, I think real estate is really becoming a data business.
It is. Thank you indeed, Stefan. Philippe Cornette leads Boston Consulting Group's Riyadh office. He is the global lead for cities, real estate, and tourism. He's an expert in large-scale urban and real estate development. During his career, he has supported more than 20 complex mega projects along their whole project life cycles across the Middle East and North Africa. Philippe, in your global leadership role at BCG, focusing on cities, real estate, and tourism, how do you perceive the interplay between urban development and sustainable tourism, especially in light of the growing emphasis on environmental responsibility and cultural preservation in the real estate sector?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me today. We're truly honored to be a partner to the forum and to be part of the real estate development in the kingdom, which is actually leading the world in many, many ways. Look, on this topic, it's about balancing three elements, right? The first one is how do you drive economic growth? Second one is how do you ensure environmental responsibility? And the third one is, at the same time, how do you ensure cultural preservation? And if we look back, 10, 20 years ago, urban development and tourism development was mostly about economic growth and financial aspects, right? And they can actually work all together, these elements of economic growth, environmental responsibility, and cultural preservation. And there are many trends in this domain, but I want to call out three elements that we see really at play. The first one is obviously the integration from the beginning of sustainable practices, both in the aspect of urban development, but also in tourism development. And there are actually great examples that we can see here in the kingdom. The example of how Alula is also building on circular economy, right? And how they are integrating this circularity in the development of the urban environment, and they are driving, therefore, sustainable tourism. Their approach is very light touch in terms of development, and that's part of the value proposition. So that sustainability of the urban development makes the tourism offering incredibly appealing. The second trend that we see more and more is put the celebration of heritage and culture at the core of the value proposition of urban development and of tourism. Cultural preservation used to be a constraint for urban developers and for real estate developers. Mm-hmm. It's today an advantage. This is part of their value proposition that they can sell to make their destinations more appealing. Again, a great example that we see here in Riyadh, not far away, in Diriyah. Mm-hmm. The core of the offering in Diriyah is celebrating the amazing heritage of the kingdom. And they don't see that as a challenge, they see that as a massive opportunity to do sustainable urban development and sustainable tourism. And the third aspect that we see, that in my view is one of the most critical trends, is the need for community engagement. Right? Sustainable tourism is also about authenticity, is about connecting with the local communities, and it took some time to urban developers and real estate developers to completely integrate that aspect. And because the market is asking for it, actually they're moving in that direction and putting the community engagement at the core of their action. How
can you engage the community as a real estate developer?
Well, I think the question is not so much how you you have to. Uh-huh. It's not anymore an option, or it's actually a duty. When think of it, when you're developing a project, think of the development of, again, I'm going back to Alula, right? Of the redevelopment of the old town of Alula. You have two ways of doing it. You can do a standard real estate development disconnected from the place, or you can actually engage with the community, create value for the community. And this is how you create something that is really sustainable, because it's anchored in the reality of the location. How do you do that? Well, it takes time, it takes effort, it takes compromise, but this is really essential.
Thank you indeed, Philippe. خلدون يعمل في الشركة الوطنية للإسكان كرئيس لقطاع الاستثمار العقاري، حيث يقود أنشطة الشركة الاستثمارية لمختلف أنواع الأصول العقارية. مالي بالتخصص الأكاديمي، لديه من الخبرة في هذا المجال ما يفوق 20 عاماً، حيث عمل مع العديد من المطورين العقاريين البارزين في المنطقة. خلدون، مع التزايد المستمر في الطلب على السكن الميسور التكلفة، كيف تعمل الشركة الوطنية للإسكان على تطوير مشاريع سكنية تجمع بين الاستدامة والجودة والإمكانية المالية؟ وما هي التحديات التي تواجهها في هذا السياق؟
في البداية اسمح لي أسامة أشكر القائمين على هذا المنتدى وجميع الرعاة. في الحقيقة يعني قد يكون من المفيد أنه نوضح أنه المفهوم التقليدي للسكن الميسور عموما هو السكن المنخفض الجودة، والذي يتواجد في أحياء تقل فيها مستوى الخدمات نوعا وكما وجودة. وصراحة احنا في الوطنية للإسكان لا نؤمن بهذا المفهوم التقليدي للأفوردبل هاوسينج. وعلى النقيض نعتقد أنه توفير السكن الميسور هو مرتبط بتوفير خيارات تتناسب مع القدرات الشرائية لجميع فئات المجتمع من حيث القدرة الشرائية، وذلك لتعزيز نموذج عملنا واستدامتنا ونخدم جميع شرائح المجتمع. فعلى سبيل المثال يعني اسمح لي أذكر أنه بمشاريعنا ممكن أنك تجد شقة سعرها 300 ألف ريال، وممكن تجد في نفس المشروع وحدة سكنية بنصف مليون ريال ومليون واثنين مليون، وممكن توصل ل3 مليون ريال. فنظرتنا للأفوردبل هاوسينج هي مختلفة تماما عن النظرة التقليدية، ولا تأتي على حساب الجودة وتوفر الخدمات. كيف استطعنا أن نوفر هذا المنتج بالصورة اللي احنا بنتخيله؟ في البداية عملنا مع شركائنا من المطورين العقاريين على تخفيض تكلفة التنفيذ عبر الاستفادة من اقتصاديات الحجم الكبير. العديد من مطورين الوحدات السكنية اللي بينفذوها وصلت إلى تقريبا 10,000 وحدة سكنية لكل مطور، فهذا ساعدهم بتخفيض التكلفة. كما عملت الشركة مع المطورين على تصميم نماذج تقلل من التكلفة، ترشد من تكلفة التنفيذ. كما تم الاستفادة من نموذج البيع على الخارطة اللي يوفر للمطورين العقاريين التمويل اللازم لتطوير هذه الوحدات السكنية دون الحاجة إلى الاقتراض البنكي أو ضخ المزيد من رؤوس الأموال بما يرفع من تكاليف التمويل. فكل هذه الأمور ساهمت في تخفيض سعر الوحدة السكنية دون اللجوء إلى تخفيض التكلفة. وفي ذات الوقت الشركة الوطنية للإسكان تنتهج نهج التطوير الشامل، مما مكنها من عمل دعم تقاطعي ما بين مختلف أنواع الوحدات السكنية والاستخدامات عبر الاستفادة من عوائد المكونات المدرة للدخل في تخفيض نوع معين من الوحدات السكنية. أما بما يتعلق بالاستدامة، اسمح لي هنا أذكر أيضا أنه مفهومنا نحو الاستدامة ليس بالمفهوم التقليدي. لو سألت يعني معظم الناس مفهومك بالاستدامة بذكر فقط الاستدامة المالية أو الاقتصادية، لكن إحنا مفهومنا يتعدى إلى الاستدامة البيئية. مثلا نحن ننفذ البنية التحتية وفق أفضل الممارسات العالمية لتقليل الهدر في المواد ورفع الجودة. مثلا نحن ننفذ الشبكات البنية التحتية في الأرصفة وليس في الشوارع لكي يسهل صيانتها. نستخدم المياه الصادرة من محطات الصرف الصحي لري المزروعات والأشجار. وفي ذات الوقت أيضا بنركز على الاستدامة المجتمعية اللي بتركز على تعزيز القيم في المجتمع، مثلا زي قيمة مثلا النظافة في المجتمع. احنا في أحد مشاريعنا أطلقنا مبادرة المراقب المجتمعي اللي بيعطي للناس تذكير إنه لازم تحافظ على نظافة مجتمعك. ونهتم أيضا بالاستدامة الإنسانية عبر الاستثمار في رأس المال البشري المتمثل بالاستثمار بكافة مكونات المشروع من مكونات تجارية وترفيهية ومختلف الأنواع. وهنا قد أعيد يعني التنويه بالتصريح اللي ذكره سعادة الرئيس التنفيذي للشركة الوطنية للإسكان الأستاذ محمد البطي، أنه خلال العام الجاري إن شاء الله سوف يتم ضخ استثمارات بحوالي 6 مليار ريال في مختلف الأنشطة الترفيهية والتجارية وخلافه، بما يعزز الاستدامة الإنسانية.
نعم. شكرا جزيلا أستاذ خلدون. Mr. Stefan, back to you. Given the unique economic and cultural landscape of the Middle East, what key trends do you foresee in the real estate development and investment in the region over the next decade? And how should companies adapt to these evolving trends to remain competitive and sustainable?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think it, again, quite simple. For my money, it's all about mixed-use communities. I think if you look back over the past 10, 15, 20 years, the development of the urban environment across the kingdom has really been dominated by standalone real estate uses. So you go to a mall, you can do some shopping, you go to an office building, you can go to your work. I think that has got to change, and it's already changing. And it's two things really. It's how people want to live, work, play, but it's also how developers and owners can build more accretion of value through their products. So you actually get sort of synergistic value through your development. And I think that is definitely going to dominate the landscape as we go forward. If you look at other well-developed, mature cities, they aren't sort of monolithic cities. They are cities of villages that all have their different characteristics. And I think already, and we've heard David Henry earlier from MISC, and we all know the good work that the guys at Diriyah are doing. This is already happening in Riyadh. CAFT. We've seen CAFT develop over the years, and now it's becoming this sort of fully functioning mixed-use product. And I think that's really key. And look, this had to happen. I remember writing an article about 10 years ago saying that the way forward for the market in order to generate more value and get up the sort of value curve is adopting better quality mixed-use development. And I think whilst we have changed our habits in terms of work from home and etc., I think COVID has primed that a bit, but it was going to happen anyway. And I think Philip makes a really good point about engaging with communities, engaging with history and culture. And I think he's right in terms of people buy authenticity. And I think as the city develops, there's a sort of an amazing ability to sort of tap into that historic knowledge and build some really, really well-apportioned products that are market-facing, but also do something more for the community as well. And I think that's important as we go forward.
Yeah, thank you indeed. Back to you, Philippe. Considering your extensive experience with cities and real estate at a global level, what are the key strategies that you recommend for urban planners and real estate developers to effectively balance the demands of rapid urbanization with the needs for sustainability or sustainable, livable city environments?
Yeah, thank you so much. I actually don't see a contradiction between rapid urbanization and sustainability and livability. Actually, I see risks, but I see opportunities to make them work really well together. So there are many things that urban developers and real estate can do, but the most important ones for me are the following. And on the first one, I actually have to agree with my fellow panelists. Real estate developers and urban planners have to understand that they are not developing real estate. They're actually developing communities, right? And the earlier they understand that, the stronger their products will be, the more successful their developments will be. It's all about understanding at the core how people live, how they want to live, how the ways in which they live have evolved over time, and how to adapt to that. So there's no such a thing as developing residential, or as developing offices, or as developing retail. It has to work all together as one community. And there's a lot of thinking indeed in the kingdom about that happening here. I think the kingdom is really at the forefront of transforming the thinking of real estate development to actually community development. The second aspect is, in doing so, community development and urban planning has to bring together all the aspects and has to be comprehensive or integrated planning. I have had the pleasure to work with many planners over the past 17 years in my job, and I've seen two approaches. One which is, oh great, we design a great district with great streets and blocks, and after that we think of mobility and we think of environment and we think of all these aspects. The other approach is actually to look at all of that together and how to think that mobility shapes the community, that sustainability shapes the community. They're not an afterthought, but they're actually very important elements to design. And the third element that we see more and more, and that is not yet, I think, fully integrated by urban planners and real estate developers, is the need for adaptation and resilience. Right? As the climate is changing, cities, communities are a lot more exposed to major climate events. Cities are not resilient enough, not flexible enough, not adaptive enough, and I think real estate developers, urban developers, city planners have to factor that in their development a lot more going forward.
Interesting. Thank you indeed. I'll get back to you on that after we ask the last question to Mr. خلدون. مستر خلدون أو أستاذ خلدون، هل لمستم تطور في سلوك الباحثين عن السكن بخصوص الاحتياجات والمواصفات المتطلب توفيرها بالوحدة السكنية؟ وما هي المبادرات التي قامت بها الشركة لمواكبة هذه التطورات؟ طبعا الشركة الوطنية للإسكان المقصود.
فعلا سلوك المستهلك في العديد من الاتجاهات بيشهد تطور. قد يكون أهم عنصر فيه العنصر المرتبط في مساحة الوحدة السكنية ونوعها، في تفضيل أكبر للوحدات الأصغر المرتبطة بالقدرات الشرائية، وأصبح في تفضيل أكبر للتصاميم المرنة اللي بتتيح الاستخدامات بطريقة غير تقليدية، مثل المساحة المخصصة للمكتب المنزلي مثلا، خصوصا بعد جائحة كورونا، وصار في مجال للموظفين أنهم يعملوا من بيوتهم. أيضا صار في ترند مرتبط في المشاريع متعددة الاستخدام. أصبحت المستهلكين بيفضلوا أنهم يشتروا وحدات في مشاريع متكاملة الخدمات، المساحات المتعددة الاستخدام، القاعات الاجتماعية، الروضات، الجمات. في ترند أيضا كمان متعلق في تقنيات البناء. ممكن يكون نفس المطور العقاري بيطور مشروع مثلا 500 وحدة سكنية، منهم 200 وحدة بالبناء التقليدي ودرست بتقنيات بناء، فالناس أصبحت تفضل تقنيات البناء لأثرها على تكاليف الصيانة والتكاليف المرتبطة بالطاقة. أيضا أصبحنا نشوف طلب على القيم المضافة، زي الطلب على الخدمات الصيانة والتشغيل والأمن وخلافه، وهذا فيه توجه الآن بإذن الله في توسع فيه، بحيث يكون في تركيز في المراحل القادمة على توفير هذا المنتج للناس، خصوصا المجتمعات السكنية المغلقة والشبه المغلقة، العمودية والأفقية. أيضا في تركيز على المشاريع اللي بتأخذ بعين الاعتبار الويلنس حق الساكنين، لأنه في ترند الناس تهتم في الصحة والرياضة، فحتى مشاريعنا الآن صارت كلياتها فيها مسارات للدراجات الهوائية على سبيل المثال، ومن الماستر بلانينج يؤخذ بعين الاعتبار يكون توافر الخدمات حوالين المجمعات السكنية وذن 5 دقائق مشي. هذا بالإضافة طبعا للتحول الرقمي اللي واكب الطلب على سمارت هوم سيستمز، واللجوء حتى لتطبيقات الواقع الافتراضي عندما يقوم المشتري بالبحث عن وحدة سكنية.
نعم، شكرا جزيلا. I'm afraid we're running out of time. In 30 seconds, I'd like each of you to give us like a conclusion about the trends of real estate, emerging trends of real estate. Starting with you.
Gosh, it's a big question for no time to go. Look, I think I'd say the same thing. It's about mixed-use development, but I think we've got to a really interesting point in the market where you've got this intersection of value but also affordability. So I think Khaldoon's right about unit sizes coming down, and I think people can give that kind of space away if developers put better quality stock into the market, which is mixed use, and you can live workplace, so you don't need so much environment within your own domain. So for my money, it's quality and it's more efficiency in terms of product that is put into the market.
Thank you indeed, Stefan. Philippe, you mentioned that communities drive the change and they create the trends. Would you like to conclude with a 30 minutes conclusion? Go ahead.
Great. So, first of all, I think looking back at how real estate has evolved and how cities have evolved over the past decades, I think makes us all very humble when it comes to predicting the future of real estate, right? And I wish we had a crystal ball that would really give us visibility on that. So, look, my view is it's all about putting back the people and the community at the core of real estate and urban development. And the second element is also about creating a system that is flexible, adaptable, and resilient. Right? And the past years have taught us that resilience and that ability to adapt to a changing world are very essential.
Thank you indeed. خلدون تفضل.
بعتقد المطورين العقاريين عشان ينجحوا لازم يفكروا ماذا يقدموا للباحث عن السكن خارج المنزل أكثر ما يفكروا ماذا يقدموا له داخل المنزل.
شكرا جزيلا. إذا أدعوكم لشكر المتحدثين معي. حياكم الله. شكرا. Thank you indeed.